Welcome back into Top Shelf, presented by Enterprise. Big trips, sudden detours, or last-minute plans. Whatever it is, we are here for it. And fellas, we're a week into the NHL season, which means that there's no better time to do one thing: overreact to everything. There's teams winning games. There's teams losing games. There's one team that's been losing games for 14 straight years, and they're still losing games. Ooh. Sorry, Sabres fans. It looks ugly early, but
right away.
Yeah, I had to get it off. They just... We don't need to get into the Sabres right now.
Nothing unexpected about that. Yeah.
But, like I said, 3 or 4 games in for every team, week in, and I really want to overreact, and that's going to be your guys' jobs today. Same crew as always, Aidan, John, Kyle. We're going to have 2 rounds of overreactions. One is things that I think you guys truly believe in can happen, despite the small sample size that we have. Second round, I still want you guys to believe in them, but... You know, we're
getting a little crazy.
We're going to take a step up. We're going to say some things we might regret down the road. I'm going to be kind of
these guys might regret.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Kyle feels
go
great
2 for
about
2.
I'm going to be the take connoisseur, so to speak. So I'll give you guys ratings on a scale of chicken wings from hot or from mild, medium, all the way to scorching hot. So I'm excited to see what we've got. But let's get right into it. We're going to start with you, Aidan. Your first take, your first overreaction 3 games into the NHL season. How do you feel?
Okay, so obviously they are 2-2 today, but I think everybody expected the Toronto Maple Leafs to have a little bit of a learning curve in the post-Mitch Marner era. I believe that this rough start might lead to them being a wild card team. And I don't necessarily think that this means they have no chance in the playoffs or no chance at putting a run together, but it's a big adjustment losing your top forward. And at the end of the day, yes, Austin Matthews can score 60 goals, but Mitch Marner was the top forward for the Toronto Maple Leafs for the better part of the last decade, really.
Top scoring forward.
Top scoring forward.
I want to make very clear about that.
But
top forward.
Also he's runs the power play. Yeah. He's on the penalty kill. He plays every important minute for that team. You lose him and you replace him by committee, it's going to take a little bit of time to adjust. Add on to that the fact that I just think that the Atlantic Division as a whole is very, very strong. I think being a wild card team isn't actually the worst thing in the world for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think the only team at the Atlantic that I'm confident will finish in the top 3 is the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's about it. And they're not even off to a great start themselves. But I think there's a lot of question marks right now for me about where the Maple Leafs are going to score. They've scored a lot of empty netters to start this year.
Which means they're ahead.
Pads the stats a little bit in the goals for department. But I think they need Austin Matthews to be like a 55, 60 goal guy. And he just, even though he's got 3 goals, 2 of them empty netters, he just doesn't really looked that part to me in terms of like the same guy that scored, was it 60, 67, 68?
It was like 69.
69, even better, a couple years back.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's where I'm going to go. I think the Leafs are a wild card team.
I don't have a problem with the take in a vacuum, but when I look at the Atlantic, I mean, like you said, Tampa, they're in the top 3 of the Atlantic. But then after that, it's such a toss-up, and I would put like Florida closer to wild card. I would put Ottawa closer to wild card, Montreal. So then who's filling those other 2 Atlantic spots? I put Toronto as still the second best team in that division as far as regular season results.
Montreal's a wagon, man. Honestly,
Montreal is kind of a wagon.
I was a little down on them coming into this year, but just the team defense, I was a little worried about that. But I mean, who cares if they don't really have a 2 seed? But they've got 2 power play 1 units. That's in itself. Like, they're offensively, they are just loaded in terms of scoring. They're fine to win games 6-5, 5-4 all season long. The Leafs under Berube and with this core are going to be trying to play that playoff style hockey game where they want to win 3-2, 2-1, and they might score a couple empty netters to make the scoreline look a little bit better, but that's the strategy. And as what we've seen with the Leafs over the last decade is the reason they've been so successful in the regular season is because they have played that high-flying, high-scoring mentality. I think that their game might translate better in the playoffs than a Montreal or an Ottawa, but I think in the regular season, I still think that they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not saying that
wild card is still a playoff team. But the other thing, though, is that's only one more team you mentioned there. You still need another team to jump them for them to become a wild card team.
So Ottawa is a little bit murky because of the Brady Tkachuk thing, because he's out for 4 weeks. But
is it just the Panthers then?
Panthers.
What about the team that just beat them twice?
The Detroit Red Wings. Is the Yzer plan coming together?
What about the Boston Bruins? 3-1 right now.
Yeah. So, but that's what I mean. Like the Atlantic Division. Sabres is that's off to a hot start, and I think they're probably they're going to need 99, 100 points to get into that top 3, and I don't know if this is a 100-point team for me.
I think I'm okay with this take despite being a Leafs fan because I didn't have super high expectations this year, so I'm going to put it I'm going to put it just slightly below the middle, I would say, and have it around the medium spice level here, because I do think that there's a real chance. There just feels like there's too many teams in this division that are the same as the Leafs. Like, we don't know who's going to be ahead of them. We don't know who's going to be behind them. But as of right now, again, overreacting, it feels like they're right in that pack.
Yes.
With the way that they've played
I think
on the
it's
ice.
fair to say that they are not a lock to be a top 3 in the Atlantic. They very much could be. This is an overreaction
We're
1 week into the season. But I think it's fair to say they're not a lock in the top 3, but I think they are a playoff lock, 100%.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. We're putting that medium on the spice level. On to John with his first take.
Do you guys remember a couple of years ago when we would put UC Saros in the same conversation, same sentence, same breath as Connor Hellebuyck, Andrei Vasilevsky, Igor Shesterkin? He's had a couple of meh seasons, but he's still 30, and he's off to an incredible start. Like, I don't know if you guys saw, but there was this fun sort of storyline of, I believe it was the Senators, I might be wrong, through their player introductions, they were going through Nashville's crease while UC Saros was on the sidelines.
Yeah.
I don't know how the broadcast knew this, but they were like, he's fired up about this, and then he put up incredible numbers in that game. But the reason why I think that UC Saros is going to be the defining goalie of the 2025-26 season is because he's on 2 very flawed teams, and that's Nashville, that's Finland, if we're looping in the Olympics here. So Nashville, I find the forward group like very perplexing. They got a lot of finishers, not a lot of playmakers, not enough worker bees. It's just very kind of all over the place. Their blue line after Yossi, very questionable. What does that leave? You need Saros to really work his magic for them to even sniff the playoffs. And I think their goal is to make the playoffs. They're not like tanking. Whether we agree with that or not, as a smart strategy, they are not tanking. And then you look at Finland, they lose Barkov, and that blue line, as we talked during the Four Nations face-off, it is horrendous past Miro Heiskanen.
Yep.
So what does that mean? UC Saros, if they're going to win a medal, bronze presumably, he's going to have to really step up and be a superstar. So I feel like both situations are so dependent on Saros, and we've sort of forgotten about him because he had these roughly, down years. But he used to be right in there as, like, when we talked about the top 5, top 7 goalies. He was right in that discussion, and then, we just forgot about him. And he's only 30. I the last, week or so, I've been thinking maybe we're sleeping on Saros a little bit.
UC Saros is here.
As the defining goalie of the season, though, my issue is it seems like the defining moment of the season is going to be the gold medal game of the Olympics. And to me, that means the defining goalie for this year is either going to be presumably Jordan Binnington or Connor Hellebuyck, and probably more likely Hellebuyck, just because you have the Jets. Can he win this 3rd straight Vezina? Can he do these record things and lead Team USA to a gold medal for the first time in ages? Versus Saros, who there's a way that I can see him being the defining goalie, but there's a lot that has to go either the Predators' way or Finland's way, which doesn't seem too likely.
But Hellebuyck might not even start for the Americans.
That is true.
Yeah.
So maybe that takes that whole discussion off the table.
Well, then it becomes Jake Ottinger.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, to define a season, winning has to be involved. You can't define a season even if Finland goes and wins a bronze medal at the Olympics behind Saros being unbelievable. He's not defining the season because of that. Even if Nashville squeaks into the second wild card, is he defining the season? At the end of the day, who's going to define the season is a cup-winning goaltender or a cup-losing goaltender, right? Like, who defined last year's season? Was it Stuart Skinner or was it Sergei Bobrovsky? Stuart Skinner was probably played just as big of a role, even though he played less games in that Stanley Cup final than
I would say it was Connor Hellebuyck last year.
Yeah.
The Vezina Trophy,
Hart,
the Hart Trophy,
Playoff
and then the playoff failure again, and then also the Four Nations face-off.
Yes. But the winning,
I know what you mean,
success has to be a part of it, and that's the only reason that Saros is tough.
I get what you're saying there. I would say more meaningful games, like those big spotlight, either cup finals, gold medal games, whatever it may be. I have a hard time seeing Saros get to those to be the defining goalie. I can see him being a defining goalie, not the defining.
He can
goalie.
define the season if he gets traded to the Edmonton Oilers.
Hey, there we go. Now we're cooking.
Now we're cooking.
There you go. Here we go.
Okay, if that was in the overreaction, I could get behind that a little bit. I'm kind of similar to you guys, where I don't disagree that this can't happen. I think that there's definitely a path for this to happen. It's not moving me too much. I'm going to just keep it on the mild side of things. So that's where I have the UC Saros take. To Kyle, for your first overreaction of weekend.
All right, I want to hopefully bump up the temperature here.
Let's see it.
I'm loving what I'm seeing from Matthew Schaefer right
Yeah.
now. This kid is absolutely electric, to the point where why shouldn't he be in consideration for Team Canada? I think Matthew Schaefer should be on Team Canada at the Olympics in a few months' time in February. Look, he's just 18 years old. He barely played last year in the OHL. And yet, what I've seen from him just 3 games into this season, by the time we get to February, why is he not somebody that could be in consideration for Team Canada? Because what I look at him is the physical traits for what he has done in terms of being one of the fastest guys in the NHL already from the back end. Like, you look at his 20-plus mile-per-hour speed bursts based on the NHL Edge data. He's already leading all defensemen despite playing a game less than Cale Makar. Same amount of games as Jake Sanderson. He has 11 more 20-plus mile-per-hour speed bursts, and that's a guy that everyone considers one of the best skating defensemen in the NHL. He's doing this at 20 years old, and then you factor in the fact that he's already played back-to-back games, 26 minutes on the Islanders, who have a lot of veterans on that team as well in terms of the back-end guys. If somebody like Patrick Waugh is already believing in this guy to play in such heavy leverage and usage, I don't see why in a few months' time, as he gets more comfortable at the NHL level, given the pace that he plays at, why he shouldn't be just on Team Canada as the talent level and as this kind of 8th defender who can sit on the sidelines and you're comfortable having there, who can step into a role and can keep up at the highest pace game that we're ever going to see.
Yeah, a couple thoughts. First of all, Schaefer's been absolutely
Elite.
incredible, unbelievable.
Elite.
Just such a crazy start from like an 18-year-old kid. But the second thing is, like, yeah, he's playing 26 minutes a night on definitely the worst defensive core.
I completely disagree.
They have been
Adam
so
Pelech,
weak,
Ryan
but
Pulock,
they've been
Alexander
so
Romanov.
weak, though, that to start the year,
D'Angelo.
they've been so weak defensively outside of Schaefer.
Exactly.
And-
But
Been
my
rough.
point there is that Adam Pelech, Ryan Pulock, a few years ago, those are guys that are in Team Canada conversation. Alexander Romanov just got 8 times 6.25.
Yeah.
Those aren't bad defensemen, and Matthew Schaefer's putting up the results he is.
Islanders fans aren't exactly ecstatic about that Alex Romanov contract
Oh, of
right
course.
now. To
But
be
the
completely
point
fair.
being that on a defense that has some guys that are established in the NHL,
Yes.
Matthew Schaefer is putting up these
is the
results.
number one guy.
How many minutes is Matthew Schaefer getting a night on like the Stars?
Oh, you probably. I mean, they could use
Probably
another
on the
guy.
top pairing
Yeah.
with Miro Heiskanen.
Yes.
So
The-
I think it's pretty.
The
transferable.
one thing though about actually making Team Canada that's a little bit tough for me.
That's
is,
why I said should be.
is the
But-
displacing. Like, who are you actually taking away? Because if you're putting him on as the 8th defenseman,
Yeah.
you could do that, but then you're taking away, like, okay, like, what if they get to the point where, like, oh, we just really need, like, a veteran guy to plug in
That's
here.
who your number 7 is.
A Uyghur,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, Sanheim,
Like,
Harley,
Drew
like,
Doughty's on the
Doughty,
team.
like, all these guys. Like, Harley came in as was he the 8th guy after Morrissey got hurt?
Harley is clearly in my top 6.
Right,
Yeah.
but so then he's bumping out probably Morrissey or Parayko or Sanheim.
I would
or
consider him versus
as-
Colton Parayko. I would definitely have him over Drew Doughty.
Yes, so and that would be the thing is, do they say, okay, Drew, like you had your swan song with Canada at the Four Nations last year. We just want to give Schaefer a taste of what's to come in the Olympics. I get it from like a learning perspective, and like maybe he does get some minutes.
I also
a
think
little
on the
bit.
talent perspective.
I totally agree, but it's just like bringing a 18-year-old to the Olympics, especially defensemen too.
I don't think Hockey Canada will. That's why I said
Yeah.
should
Mm-hmm.
be. I think talent level, he should be there. Look, the difference between the Olympics and Four Nations is the physicality of it. It's going to be double IHF
Mm-hmm.
rules. There's going to be less physicality that is allowed in certain respects, which is going to make the game more open,
Mm-hmm.
even faster than it was before. I'm not sure Drew Doughty at that point in his career is going to be able to keep up at that highest level. And I would rather have, honestly, somebody like Matthew Schaefer who can jump in there, keep up with anybody in the world as a just-in-case break in case of emergency.
I think I totally back your point in the should department. I
Thank
don't
you.
really.
There we go.
I don't
Hey,
really
you
see
know what?
it,
As long as you agree with the should,
But
I'm
we
cool.
got
with
him
but
on
it.
I
the same
don't
side.
really see it from the like he will.
I don't
I
either.
just can't see that.
I
him
would
actually
should.
love
doing
it. I would love it. Like
They
we're
should.
we've grown up with like the Scott Niedermayer, Shea Weber back ends and stuff, and it's always the big bulky defenseman who just play the
He's also
international
6'2".
game well.
Yeah, he's not
He's a
small.
big guy, but like the
Very slender, though.
the influx of talent that it would bring, like I would love it. So I'm for sure on board with like if the top shelf panel was the one picking the roster, Matthew Schaefer is in the Olympics.
I don't know. I would have to still press pretty hard, I think.
Yeah.
But no, I like the take, and
You
I
think old man John's cutting Drew Doughty?
No
yeah.
chance.
That's
No
a
chance.
soldier
he's
that has
gonna
given
have,
his
like,
body to
he's gonna
Canada,
have,
man.
Like, Alex Pietrangelo, he can't even play it. He's
Yeah,
like,
John's probably
let him
going to
have a
try to get
roster spot.
Pietrangelo still.
Yeah.
Well, there's guys like, say, Brandon Montour. He does a lot of what Schaefer does. He's
Does he?
right-handed. Yeah, the skating ability, the puck.
I
rushing.
think Schaefer is arguably the best skating defenseman in the NHL right now.
You think he's a
Yeah, but
better
he's
skater than
also
Cale Makar?
3 games
What's
into
that?
his
You
career.
think he's a better skater than Cale Makar?
No, I
Well-
said arguably. I think
Okay.
he's top 3
Okay,
right now.
yeah, okay, that's
We're overreacting.
we're overreacting.
Hey,
It's only been a week.
I like this take. You got to spice me up for sure. I'm
Yeah.
gonna put this one at a hot. I think
Okay.
it's right in the middle.
Okay.
We're
I'm
getting
glad
up
with that.
there, and I think it's a perfect segue into this next round, where now we're gonna really get spicy. So we're gonna kick it back to Aidan with
Well, on that
presumably a super big overreaction.
yes, on that Schaefer take, I believe that this NHL rookie defenseman class will go down as the greatest of all time. There is a very high
That's
bar
spicy.
to
Wow.
pass from about 5 years ago.
Yes, there is.
But 5 years ago's class was Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, and Adam Fox. That is
No Dobson.
no Dobson. But in that
Like
rookie class, he
Gavrikov
didn't
was
have
in it,
a.
too.
But neither of those guys had crazy rookie years.
Sure.
That's more where I'm going with this. They might not have as many Norris trophies from this class as that 1920 class did, but just when we look back at how unbelievable these rookie seasons are about to be, is what I think I want to base my take around more. It's not a future career aspect, but the best rookie year. Like obviously Schaefer, obviously Bouillon's been unbelievable. Rinzel's had a great start in Chicago. Levshinov's also, just hidden behind Rinzel in Chicago. Sandin Palinka's playing big minutes for the Detroit Red Wings. Brunicki for Pittsburgh, Perek in Calgary, Dickinson's just getting his start in San Jose. I think I'm missing Nikishin's got like 4 apples already. Like it is like we're talking about 8 guys, 9 guys kind of by the end of this that might be playing on top pairings in the NHL. And we're also talking about Schaefer, a guy that we could be talking about him as a Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes level talent. This you're talking about him being at that level like right now, like already.
Not that level,
but
to
like,
be clear.
but that like level of
I-
like being a future
in a-
Norris
yeah,
guy. And
yeah.
we're also talking about like Perek is a guy that had 100 points in back-to-back OHL seasons, and he's sitting behind Uyghur right now, so the offensive output might not be right away. But Bouillon's got like 5 power play points
He's like
already.
the quarterback
ripping
of
around
that
with
wild
Kaprizov
power
and
play,
Boldy
yeah.
and having a lot of fun there. Like I'm thinking like. It's funny because I also think Demidov's probably still going to win the Calder ahead of all of these guys because he's going to put up some gaudy numbers. But I just think this rookie class of defensemen is special. And it dates back to that draft a couple years ago where the Levshinov draft where it was like 6 defensemen taken in the first top 10. And then we also saw like Cole Hudson go in that draft and a couple other guys later. But I just think that the guys coming up right now is a completely different level than we've seen in recent years.
You're bang on with the depth of this. Like, I can't remember even a class where you have like 10 guys out of the gate. You go, okay, difference maker, could have an impact. Okay, even if he plays on the third pair, like interesting rookie. Because defensemen, it always takes forever to get them through the league. And there's something about this class where, and if you even if you took Schaefer out of the equation, I think this would still be a really notable class of blue liners.
100%. For sure.
So, it's hard to say because we know how the 2019-20 group turned out, and it's like you've got the best 2 players or best 2 defensemen of their generation in Hughes and Makar, and then Fox. He's won a Norris. It's very hard to take yourself out of that mindset because we know the finished product. But yeah, there's a good chance that this class will be. I think that's a good take.
Yeah, Hughes and Makar had fantastic rookie years. Adam Fox had a good one too. Hughes won the Calder. I don't know who the third nominee was in 1920.
It was also a
some
weird
forward.
Yeah.
shortened season. Yeah.
I think it might have been Dominic Kubalik.
Yeah, or was it
Something like
Bunting
that.
or something like that? Maybe?
No, Bunting was the most cider.
Kubalik
year.
had
Okay,
a lot of
gotcha.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, but exactly and so I'm looking at it as there are probably at least 6 or 7 defensemen that are poised to have like Calder level seasons. I don't know if they'll have Lane Hudson level seasons, but maybe they very much could. Like a lot of them are on pace with how they're performing so well. So far, but it might be a little bit of an overreaction to say we could have 3 guys put up Lane Hudson like level numbers, but I mean, man, these guys look special.
Yeah.
The greatest is what's given me some pause because individually looking at the rookie seasons, I could maybe see it because of the depth. But when I look at that 1920 class, it's 2 guaranteed Hall of Famers already in Makar and Hughes, and another guy that won a Norris Trophy in his second full season or whatever it was for Adam Fox. Who are the guys for you that are that level that could make it the greatest?
I think Schaefer's probably that level.
Hall of
I'm
Famer?
cool with that.
Should we say
I
it
think
already?
I think he can be a
The amount
Norris
of hype
Trophy
about
guy.
that.
We're gonna overreact.
A special defenseman.
Yep.
100% a special defenseman. I think Perek, Bouillon, I think could be special defenseman, offensively gifted wise. Levshinov is a second overall pick for a reason. Rinzel probably has the more special offensive. He's getting at least that more of that look in Chicago. And Dickinson maybe translates more as to a top pairing guy, but maybe not necessarily a 100-point level defenseman. But I do think Perek and Bouillon, outside of Schaefer, have like point per game Norris level upside like easily. These guys
You're talking me in the door here. I'm not
like
gonna lie.
those two guys had historic level production in college and junior.
Compared to Bobby Orr,
Like
at the OHL.
the only other
It's
player
nuts.
that's ever performed in the OHL as well as Zane Perek as a defenseman is Bobby
Literally
Orr.
Bobby
Is
Orr.
Literally Bobby Orr. And then Bouillon himself also put up literally Makar numbers in college and has made the jump the exact same way Cale Makar did, or maybe 1 year shorter than Makar.
Same age when you're.
Yes, both made their debuts in the
I
playoffs,
gotcha.
and then
I gotcha.
yeah. So I don't know. Like,
And Nikishin won what? KHL
Oh, yeah,
defenseman of the
well,
year
just,
2
like,
times, and he's like
casual
24.
Former captain
Yeah.
of SK St.
Like
Petersburg.
he has first
Yeah.
pair written all over
Yeah,
him for the next
100%.
10 years.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
he might be a little bit older, but like who
He's
cares?
more
And
polished,
even
Well, it's like
sneaky,
the Gavrikov
sneaky.
thing,
Nobody's
right?
talking about though is Sandin Pellikka. Like, is that Detroit fans are talking about this guy as better than Edvinsson, their next like basically guy to play next to Sider, maybe ahead of Sider for the next like eventually, and that's like casual the 7th guy on this list, which is crazy. That's why I think this class is just.
You talked me in here. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. I was ready to be like, "There's no way."
They have to
But when
win a
you lay
lot
it
of
out-
Norris trophies, and
They could though.
the issue is that they're still so close to that 1920 group that's like they'll have to surpass the Makar and Hughes.
But they
which
also
is
have to surpass them to get that greatest
100%.
label.
100%. Yeah.
Anytime you include greatest ever in something, it's going to be a good take from me or overreaction. I also think though, like what we're kind of dismissing a little bit is like, so that 19 class was so awesome, and you look at those guys and they're all so offensively gifted players, and that's just the way that the NHL is moving. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think this will be the first time or the last time that we say, oh, this defenseman class looks incredible because they're facilitating power plays and look like 100-point guys. So that's why I can get behind this even more, in the fact that like the NHL is just moving that way in general. So I'm giving this a scorching hot
Okay, there we go.
reaction on my take scale here. I love this one a lot. We'll see what the comment section says, because we're all in agreement. Maybe not everyone's in agreement.
He's talking me in the door. I'm still 1920 to be clear.
Yeah.
But no, that's you stepped it up. I appreciate that, Aidan. We go to John again now for his second similar-esque take.
Are you guys on the Frankie Nazar hype
Oh,
train
I
yet?
love him. He's great.
Okay, so this guy on finished last season on a tear after spending half the year in the HL. 9 points in April, very hard to do on a really bad Chicago team. Goes to the World Championships, puts up 12 points in 10 games, and then now he's up to 5 points in 4 games to start his sophomore season. So my take is that he is going to lead all sophomores in points, and it's pretty spicy in the sense that you've got Celebrini, you've got Hudson, you've got Mishkov and Will Smith, and there's a handful of other guys who could conceivably finish with the most points, but I just love this player, and like he drives play. He's by no means a passenger. He's got Teravainen and Bertuzzi on his wings right now, which it's not world beating, but that's good enough. And they're getting better zone starts than that top line. So I like the usage in terms of his minutes. He's got Bedard to play with on the first unit power play. A lot of young players in terms of the types of numbers they hit early on is based on context of their situation, who's above them in the lineup. In this situation, not many, standout players beyond Bedard on another line. But again, they play together on the power play. And I just look at Nazar as someone who's on this trajectory that hasn't stopped. So, I think it's a fair take from like, if you just say put the other players aside, like this guy's going to put up points. But it's obviously the spice comes in when you look at Celebrini, who's already a better player than Nazar and is going to be a better player over, the next 10, 15 years. But in this sort of the context of this take, I think that Nazar can pull off maybe 75, 80 points. And maybe the other guys are like right behind him.
So that means there isn't a big jump for like the Celebrinis and such.
Big jump overall, but I just think Nazar is on more of a higher trajectory in the very short term, and again within the context of like who else is putting up points for Chicago. And like I don't know about you guys, but like over the years I've come to the conclusion it's like these really bad teams, someone has to score goals, someone has to assist on goals. Like it's not like a team finishes with 50 goals at the end of the year. Like they still score even when they're losing 50 games a year. So I feel like by process of elimination, by trial and error, you end up with a lot of Nazar and a lot of Bedard. And that power play one, I think, is going to really cook between those two.
Also means a lot of Celebrini out in San Jose.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But they've got more support there. I feel like also Celebrini, like I think we're going to see his two-way game even flourish even more than we saw in year one. Like he's by far way more complete than Nazar or really anyone in this sophomore class. So, I mean, by all means, like Celebrini could. But, I'm going for some spice here.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think Hudson,
it.
He'll obviously...
It's tough for a defenseman.
Yeah, to repeat what he did in that first year.
Especially
if the bar is the 75, 80 points that you're going for, it's tough to get there as a defenseman.
Yes, and also in Montreal with Hudson, you have to now that Dobson's there too, like the
They're
puck
sharing the
moving,
load.
the offensive, like the power play. They are literally in Montreal running like
50-50.
50-50 the power play units.
And we're
The Nazar thing is interesting to me because I think for him to get to 80, that probably means Bedard's around 82, and that probably means Celebrini and San Jose are worse than Chicago, right? Because I think, but I don't know, Chicago's so bad. Like they're just.
But that's part of my rationale.
The only way I see it happening is if the coaching staff there elects to move Nazar up to 1C and Bedard to the wing.
Yeah.
And they decide that those two are the 1-2 punch on. It's like the Taves and Kane, like that sort of like mix or whatever you want to call it. That's the only way I can really see, just because at 5-on-5 you're going to need to be a legit scorer to get up there to be that leading scorer of the sophomore group. And no disrespect to Teravainen and Bertuzzi, who I think are good wingers and probably better wingers than what Connor Bedard is working with right now. I just don't see him getting to that level with the guys that he's working at 5-on-5. I do think the power play has some intriguing upside, though. I'm a huge Nazar fan.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of his since like draft year all the way through. It's a little too high end for me, though. I like the way you're going, though.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's tough is like if they're split up, in theory, Bedard gets the tougher matchups, especially most games,
that's
because
true.
teams would think of that. If they're put together, it's like, okay, you got Bedard and Nazar together, and then it's like you're going up against Colorado, and they're running every shift against McKinnon. It's like, well, they're probably not going to have a lot of luck at 5v5 because they're not big guys. They're not physically dominant. They're not exactly like your prototypical two-way forwards. I don't think either of them translate bad long-term in that way. But I think what's good in San Jose's favor is that I think they've lost basically every game by and scored 5 goals in San Jose, right?
Except for the Carolina game,
Yes.
most recently.
Yes.
That was atrocious.
But I just think in San Jose that they have the scoring around Celebrini that
Gonna need some secondary assists
gonna
if you're gonna be 75-80 leading sophomores.
where Nazar's second assists are a little bit tougher to come by.
Do you guys think it's just Celebrini as his biggest contender? Or do you think Mitchkov is also...
ruled out Mitchkov
I mean,
completely.
he could be there too.
the Talkett playing 14-15 minutes thing scares
yeah,
me.
Not
exactly. That's
Not
my
great.
thought process as well.
That's fine. I like it, and I respect this one more than I had your first one just out of mine. I'm bumping this one up, John.
You're being honest.
You got an A in my books. This is a spicy take.
Okay.
Almost at scorching.
Spicier the better.
Spicy take for the Nazar take.
Cool.
And last but not least, Kyle, end us off here with a solid overreaction. What do you have what's the finisher here? Bring it
Alrighty,
in the
well,
closer.
we're going to the goalies for the closer. And look, this is a guy that I've loved for a few years since I saw his NHL debut, Jet Greaves. He made his NHL debut in Toronto kind of unexpectedly, or against Toronto. I can't remember if it was in Toronto. I think it was. Made 46 saves on 49 shots and a loss. And since then, I've kind of had my eye on him as a guy that's like this undrafted, undersized goaltender. It's like, what can this guy do in a pipeline that's kind of behind a couple other guys? And I've loved his game since. I think this is a guy that is going to be a breakout starter this season and finish top 5 in Vezina Trophy voting.
Okay.
I think he can have a very similar impact to what Dustin Wolf had on the Calgary Flames last year, where the Flames were this team that we didn't really know what to expect from them, kind of expected them to be bottom 5, have a goalie in Dustin Wolf who has this upside, but can he actually do it over a full season? And he completely shows out in that full season. And so for me, in looking at what Dustin Wolf did last year as this undersized goaltender, he proved to me that in this modern NHL with these skating, the speed of the game, these shooters, that you can still do it as a small goaltender. And Jet Greaves being this undersized guy, I look at him in Columbus and what they did last year, and it's like, if Jet Greaves gets called up a month before, they're in the playoffs.
Yep.
And so Jet Greaves in the AHL last year was spectacular. Had a 920 save percentage. Over his 23 NHL games to date, he has a 925 save percentage. Every single time he has stepped into the NHL, he's been a legit stud. And obviously, he's not going to be the 938 guy that he was at the very end of last year, where he won 5 straight games and almost carried them into the playoffs there. But I think he's going to get a significant amount of starts this season over Merzlikins because of the struggles that Elvis has had over the recent years. And I think he's going to have the workload and the results to be a guy that is having Columbus closer to the wild card conversation that we're probably expecting again this year. And he's going to get a lot of love from the general managers who vote for this as well, not necessarily some of the other voting blocks as well. I think Jet Greaves is in for a massive, massive season.
I like the... Audacity is the wrong word. I like the boldness of this take.
Audacity is absolutely the right word.
Audacious.
It's audacious. But you brought up the general managers. They vote on this award. They love wins. They love save percentage. They love goals against average. The like basic. They're basically team stats, but they assign them to goalies. So that basically tells me Columbus has to make the playoffs. Maybe not because you have top 5. So is he the 5th guy? If they don't make the playoffs, maybe because if he has like a 920 in a league that now has
Which is, I think that's the expectation.
But I think,
for
to be
this kind
fair,
of
if he has a 920 and plays 55, 60 games...
I don't think it's that high, though, because they're still playing Merzlikins a lot.
100%.
I think it's going to be in that 45 to 50 game range.
So does
which
he
is
play
why-
enough to get him?
He's
Which is
gotta
why
play
I
50
think
games.
he's going to have the save percentage and not necessarily the wins to be that Vezina true contender, but I think he's going to have the overall numbers to be the guy that's right after it. Like, I look last season, obviously Anthony Stolarz had the wins and such. He didn't have the full games played, but he was a guy that was top 5 in Vezina or in that kind of discussion because of the overall numbers,
Performance
like leading
when he
save
was there.
percentage, things
Was
like that.
Wolf top 5 last season?
He was 8th, I
Eighth.
believe, in
Yeah.
Vezina Trophy
So
voting.
better-
But he also
better
had a
season.
910 save percentage at the end of the season.
Yeah, his save percentage did dip down the stretch, and then
right.
Calgary obviously didn't make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, and his save percentage, well, it wouldn't have dipped if they'd made the playoffs, probably too.
That's probably saving those.
That, in theory, probably gets him a few more votes. I think, in theory, they probably do have to make the playoffs
Probably.
for this, just to get into that top 5, because you're right, the GMs do vote, but
Yeah.
I do love this take. I think
Yeah?
there's always one random guy that just like kind of
Yeah,
gets
it's
that
true.
like
Season, are
It's
you
a good
wrong?
He's
bet
the
for the random
smaller,
guy.
undersized, athletic goaltender, and literally every single season he played in the AHL, he was the top goaltender in terms of save percentage on that team. He's consistently improved in that regard. Undrafted kid, unsigned, signed as an undrafted free agent by Columbus, and just a guy that has worked his way up, and I really believe in his just raw talent, and I think they're finally going to go with him because they desperately need the goaltending. Merzlikins didn't provide it in recent years. He's still there. Daniil Tarasov didn't take that kind of mantle from Merzlikins, and I think they're going to give Greaves the opportunity here because he was the guy that started on opening night, and that makes me believe that he's going to have at least the games to get in this top 5 conversation.
One of goalie nerds, like say if goalie coaches were voting on this, which would be kind of a weird.
That would
move.
also be amazing.
Which would be amazing.
That'd be
But if
fun.
like people who really knew the position were voting on it, they would coming into the season be thinking about it similarly to you, where it's like projecting forward. They love what they see. It's like Mackenzie Blackwood is like perpetually like the guy who's gonna break out. Like goalie nerds love Mackenzie Blackwood. They love Jack Greaves too. They like Kevin Lankinen. Like there's just guys that are sort of on the cusp. And then, okay, is this the season they break through? Is it the next season? Do they, for whatever reason, not break through? So I feel like if the voting block was different, he would be getting almost some like, dark horse love, even though it's a bit of a projection.
I believe in my general managers.
He's also very
I
clearly
believe in my GMs.
He's also very clearly getting some dark horse love right here.
That's
on the
true.
Top Shelf Show. So
It's true. My one question before we wrap that part up is: who is he the defining goalie of this season, though?
Absolutely. Columbus
Over-
going
Yeah.
to the
overused
Stanley
to
Cup
Saros.
now. Yeah, Hart Trophy.
He's
Jackets
gonna win-
wagon?
win a
Vezina.
gold. Yeah,
I don't think he's called. Yeah, he's not Calder eligible anymore. But
Yeah, I can get behind this take as well, solely for the fact that we've looked this up before. Goalie with the least amount of wins to win the Vezina.
Here we go.
We can slice a couple wins off
Right.
because he used to have top 5, and Sergei Bobrovsky won a Vezina with
what
barely
team did he
any
do that
wins.
with?
Where did he
Who
do
did he
it?
do that
It was-
with?
I think it was 2012, 13, 14 with Columbus.
There
So
you
if there's
go.
one thing about the Blue Jackets, goalies high in Vezina voting with
Interesting.
little amount of wins.
There
I
we
like
go.
this take. I'm putting this in the spicy category. Great solid round there. I think we went scorching, spicy.
not bad.
Something like
Not
that.
bad.
Solid
Yeah,
for
yeah.
some overreactions, but we're only a couple games in, so we've got plenty of time to probably do this again. Probably regret doing this the first time and
No
getting
chance.
more
Yeah. No
on
chance.
page. But just to end us off before we get out of here, I did want to touch on one thing. I mean, we're The score comes from Toronto. So we got our Leafs fix in a little bit, but I wanted to double down on our Leafs fix, considering the concerns that they have right now, because I think they're one of the more elusive teams right now. We don't really know what to think of them. So I've pieced together a little bit of a trade here to wrap us out. We're calling this Who Says No, presented by Enterprise. The Leafs just faced off with the Predators. We were saying the Leafs didn't score a lot, and I don't take this 7-goal game against Nashville very seriously. 2 empty netters, Jake McCabe goal, OEL goal. Like, what does that mean?
This guy hates defensemen.
Don't like defenseman goals. We need more offense on the Leafs. Philip Forsberg is someone the Preds could be looking to deal. How do we feel about Philip Forsberg for Easton Cowan, Ben Danford, Cal Yarncrow, and a 2028 first-round pick? Nashville's going to have to retain a little bit, obviously, to take on this big package and to send Forsberg out. But who says no to this trade? This is the way that the Leafs can fill their void of Mitch Marner.
I think, first of all, hilarious little Cal Yarncrow.
Just throwing
Going
that
back to Nashville.
He's
Going
been
back
to
there
his-
before.
Hey, he's almost a goal per game.
Yes, he has been cooking to start the year. My instant reaction is Toronto probably says no because they're so limited on future assets right now, like so limited.
This is mortgaging the future
This is all of them.
Yes.
Like
One
after
last
this,
swing.
they really have no legit high upside. There's obviously some like little.
Not really.
There's this, but really like
Nothing.
and then you got no picks either to like look at. I do get it for Nashville. Like I do like if they like this is actually a pretty good haul for Forsberg. Like 2 like A/B level prospects, a first round pick, future one, and a roster player. But I also think they might not be in a hurry either. I do think that Philip Forsberg though is a player that would be a great target for the Leafs and is exactly what they desperately need right now.
What's his contract? Does anyone know off the top of their head?
It's 8 by 8.5.
Well, that's what he signed. Is it?
He's got what, 2 or 3
Oh,
years
oh,
left?
yeah,
a
he's
couple
got 2
years
years
left.
I mean,
yeah.
that's a pretty good contract, although it's not going to be easy to fit under the cap right now. But moving forward, who says no? Like it depends. I don't know.
You can't just say good deal if you,
You
want.
can't
Yeah,
say good
That's
deal.
kind of what I'm saying. But it's like this is Brad Tree Living's only card to play. Like
Yeah.
he's done after this.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
the thing.
he's going all the way to 2028 with his first rounder, and then like arguably his best 2 prospects. Yarncrow
Definitely their
is
best
a
two
negative
prospects.
Yeah,
asset.
that is
Mortgages
very much a
are-
hands-off. Like,
So-
okay, this team is this team for.
You know what? I think the Leafs say no.
I think Nashville says no because giving up on Forsberg is giving up on this entire era that they currently have.
Yep.
If this is presented to Brad Tree Living, honestly, I do this in a heartbeat. I love Philip Forsberg. I love what he brings to this team. He's another dynamic forward that you add to this group that is very different than what Mitch Marner was in terms of this shooter and this very offensively gifted but like pacey forward as well versus Mitch Marner, who kind of slows things down, playmaker on kind of the outsides of the game. I would love Philip Forsberg's fit with the Maple Leafs. I would do this absolutely because ultimately, look, futures are great to have. You're also trying to win the damn Stanley Cup.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
as much as it pains me to trade away my hometown guy, Easton Cowan, I would do this in a heartbeat.
The
with
window's
the Maple Leafs.
closing. The window's closing. Like, they have one of these deals probably left in the tank. It's just a matter of what player comes back in return. But I think if I'm the Leafs, I think I'm doing a trade similar to this. I'm sending the future away, whatever, and we're gonna take one last stab at it.
Nashville, or I called you Nashville. Levi, is Nashville saying yes to this as well?
That's the other thing is it's like a franchise altering move on both ends because
Yeah.
Nashville goes in a different direction. If they do this, I mean, I made the trade. I think so. I think so. I
You
said,
did make
who
it up.
says no? Nobody says no.
I feel like this is a
So,
trade that would either happen at the deadline or.
We got
Yes,
a
something like
good
that.
deal. I'm saying Nashville no.
I said everyone says no.
Everyone
Everyone.
no.
I'm saying Toronto says no.
Wow, so
Okay.
we got basically the
All
whole thing.
four.
Pretty
It's
good.
a good piece of conversation
Not too
topic
bad.
right there. But that's all the time we have today. Hope you enjoyed the overreactions, and if you didn't, please let us know in the comments. We would love to hear what you have to say about what we have to
I
say.
need all my Jet Greaves truthers out in the
Jet
comments.
Greaves truthers, UC Saros truthers get in there. Leafs stink truthers get in there. But for everybody in the production room, all the guys here, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This has been Top Shelf presented by Enterprise.